Hey, what's up everybody? Hammer Heart Metal Reviews back again. We are gonna finish counting down my top 50 favorite albums of 2023. In case you missed it earlier in the week, this past Monday, I counted down numbers 50 to 26, and today we're in for the best of the best, my top 25 favorite albums from 2023. So I'm not going to get into too long of a spiel here. You can go check out the previous video where I kind of explain everything. You know the drill by now. But before I get into my actual picks, I just want to say cheers to you all for a great year and for continually tuning in to watch. I'm going to have myself a beer here. I got a Non-Such Brewery Pilsner. It's just a local brewery here up in Winnipeg. So cheers to you all. Thanks for continually watching, and here's to another year, and you can expect more from me next year as well. All right, fuck yeah. I'll be probably taking some sips throughout this video, and here we go. Let's get into the top 25. Kicking it off in 25th place, I am going with Zoth and their album Exogalactic. So this is a very hard band to describe, kind of a hybrid of different genres of metal, whether it be technical death metal, technical thrash, but also with like a nice black metal edge in there as well. If you haven't heard them before, I would think like comparison would be a band like Absu meets Vector meets early Skeleton Witch. Kind of like throwing all those different genres and influences together, and they just really make something their own. The guitar work on this album absolutely shreds. And while it is super technical, there's also really catchy melodies throughout. Like, yes, the playing is super technical, but it's not just wankery. They know how to write some earworm melodies as well that are really going to stick in your head. And from front to back, this is just a super fun, enjoyable album. Was actually a pretty easy choice to make my top 25. Favorite tracks on here, if I had to pick, Saga of the Blade, Reptilian Bloodsport. But all in all, like I said, front to back, just a solid album all the way through. Definitely go check it out if you have not yet. All right, up next in 24th, I'm going with Heavy Load and their new album, Riders of the Ancient Storm. So Swedish heavy metal legends, arguably Sweden's first heavy metal band in existence. And this is their first album in 40 years. That is insane. I absolutely love their output from the 80s. With like Death or Glory and Stronger Than Evil. Those are a couple of my favorite albums of all goddamn time by anyone, not just in this genre, but just a couple of my favorite albums. So how does it stack up after 40 years? Do they still have it? Yes, I would say they do. This album definitely went in a bit of a different direction than the previous couple, but it has been 40 years. There's still some really catchy moments like Ride the Night. That is possibly the most catchy song by anyone this entire year, but they've also thrown in some like prog rock elements and even some doomier moments. Yeah, maybe it's a little uneven and a little bit different than what I expected, but it's still great. I don't know if I'll put this on par with their classics over time, but another great song here, Sail Away. Like, all in all, there's still a handful of great tracks here, maybe a couple that don't quite hit the mark as much of others, but it's still a great album, and it's amazing to get new music from these guys. I really hope I can see them live. That would just make my day, would make my fucking year. But yeah, we'll see if that happens. They're in 24th. Go check it out. Up next in 23rd, I'm going with Taka, a new album at Hav Av Avstand. Might be mispronouncing that. I do not speak Norwegian. But yeah, black metal legend from Norway. One-man band. Hoest is the man behind the band. And this is just his trademark sound. He's got his classic vocals, which are just raw and aggressive. And as in the, like, kind of in line with his more recent albums, the riffs really go in a much more progressive direction than, say, the early Taka albums. While I really prefer the first 3 albums by Taka, I think those are all masterpieces, I do also enjoy the experimentation that he's done in these later years, bringing in these progressive ideas and still retaining the root in black metal. Like, if you just heard these riffs, you might not think they're even black metal songs, but then you throw in his vicious vocals, and it just really makes an awesome combination. Like, he plays pretty much everything on the album, multi-instrumentalist, very talented, and like his discography as a whole is very outstanding, and this is no exception here. It's definitely a worthy addition to his discography. If I did another ranking, this one could even be pretty high up there. Just a sick album from start to finish. It's only 4 tracks, but they're each lengthy compositions. Very awesome album in 23rd spot. All right, up next in 22nd, I'm going with Blazon, Rite and the new album Wild Rites and Ancient Songs. So this is the sophomore output from this band from the USA. This is just some traditional heavy metal, classic heavy metal, whatever you want to label it as. And either the thing that will draw you to this band or the thing that might turn you off from the band is the very unique vocals. Usually with traditional heavy metal, you might get like some soaring vocals. This is not the case here. This is more in like a lower baritone type register, but I actually really dig it. I love his vocal approach. It's unique, and uniqueness stands out. There's so many like traditional heavy metal bands coming, like up and coming these days. You need something to stand out from the crowd, and they definitely have it. The album art here is amazing as well, and this is just full of like catchy melodic guitar work throughout this whole album with really memorable songs. Like I said, the vocals might turn some people off, but if you get past that or if you're into it, you're gonna really enjoy these songs. Some of the most catchy songs I've heard this year as well. Salvage What You Can of the Night. Come on, listen to that like 2-3 times and tell me you're not singing along instantly. So goddamn catchy. Mark of the Stormborn, Riders, another great one. All in all, solid album. That's why it's in 22nd place. Up next in 21st, I am going with Hellripper as new album Warlock, Grim, and Withered Hags. So this is a one-man band from Scotland. This is some like blackened speed, blackened thrash metal, really old school approach, and just fun and catchy tunes. Like this is ripping speed. The solos kick ass. Like the guitar absolutely shreds. Then you got the blackened vocals over top. And this whole album, like, it really adds another dimension because it's all about, like, these Scottish legends and ghoulish tales. And that really just puts a smile on my face. It's really well done. Like, this is so much fun, this album. And these songs are catchy and they're going to stick with you. It's even sing-alongable, even though it's, like, the black and thrash vocals. You will still be screaming along. Songs like the Knuckle Abbey and the title track even brings in some, like, chanting as well. Warlock! Like, it's fucking great. Not really anything negative to say about this at all. It's only in 21st and not higher because these are impossible rankings to do. Everything from here on out is an album I really dig. Coming up with a ranking is next to impossible. It's in 21st for today. Awesome album that you should definitely check out. All right, before we get into the top 20, I'm going to take another chug of beer. So my throat's getting dry already, so I got to quench that thirst. All right. Let's get this going. Keep it going. Now we're into the top 20. What's even better than all these albums that I just talked about? It's crazy. Let's find out. All right. Up next in 20th, I am going with Mizmor, a new album, Prosaic. So this is some blackened doom metal from the USA. Another one-man band. There's a theme here. There's a lot of one-man bands on this list, but more power to them. Have full control over the project and the songwriting, and it really works here. When you hear blackened doom, that's not always a combination that works, because usually with black metal, you need like speedy, frantic riffs, and with doom, it slows it down. So combining those together, it doesn't always work, but for Mizmor, it definitely fucking works. One of the best out there in this very unique subgenre. The vocals here are so tortured and just so emotional. Like, this is a heart-wrenching album. And like, yeah, this guy just knows how to write soul-crushing songs. Like, this is emotionally heavy and soul-draining, but it's so goddamn good. It keeps me coming back to it. Awesome, awesome stuff. Another one that doesn't have a ton of songs, but they're all lengthy. And yeah, solid album. That's why it's in my top 20. Up next in 19th, I am going with Bloodstar and their debut full-length First Sighting. So this is some traditional heavy metal from Utah in the USA. Features one of Visigoth's guitarists in the band. And the lead vocalist here, Madeline Smith, she really is the star of the show here. Her vocals are just excellent. Suits the music like a glove. Like, this is just a match made in heaven. My only nitpick on this album is that it's too short. It's only, I think, like 32 or 33 minutes. It just leaves me wanting more all the time. I guess I'm just greedy and I want a longer album, but it also doesn't overstay its welcome. So it's a bad nitpick to have because it flows perfectly and it just flies by, but maybe like one more song just because I want more material, but I'll wait for it on the sophomore album. But anyways, getting back to the music itself, this is a very like simplistic approach to songwriting, but it crafts these very catchy songs that are just going to stay with you. Another one that you are going to be singing along to in no time. Like, yeah, these songs are just so goddamn catchy. Fearless Priestess, Going Home, every song on here you're going to be singing along to. Awesome stuff. One of the best traditional heavy metal albums of the year. That's why it's in 19th place. All right, let's switch it up here in 18th with Fanty Faxa and their album Hive Mind Narcosis. So this is some avant-garde black metal from Toronto up here in Canada. This is a very strange band to describe. It's very chaotic. Like, the riffs here are so strange. The songwriting is strange. I saw them live a little while ago, and they blew my socks off. They were amazing, but it's almost like they were just improvising on the spot, like still keeping with the basis of how these songs sound on the album, but then kind of just switching them up and doing their own thing on the fly. And that's probably how they approach these songs, writing them as well, because it's just really unique and almost like mind-bending, the approach to writing these songs. I don't know how they would write these songs, but yeah, it's hard to describe. It's an album you really got to immerse yourself in to just get trapped in the black metal mindfuck that this album is. But really awesome stuff. I'm not going to pick favorite songs because this is an album you need to sink your teeth into and listen to from start to finish. But definitely go do that if you have not. Solid black metal album in 18th place. All right. Up next in 17th, Cirith Ungol with their possibly last album, Dark Parade. So a band that maybe doesn't need any introduction, but I feel like they have been underrated their entire career. This is some epic heavy metal, epic doom, really their own sound. What really makes it unique is their vocalist, Tim Baker. His approach is so unhinged, and it is amazing. And he sounds as good as ever here, if not better than he's ever sounded. Like, it's crazy that they've been around this long and his vocals still sound this good. Yeah. So goddamn amazing. It really just has their unique trademark sound. No other bands really sound exactly like Cirith Ungol. They do their own thing here, crafting these classic heavy metal songs with so much doom influence. And honestly, one of the songs on this album is maybe my new Cirith Ungol's favorite song ever. Sailor on the Seas of Fate, which of course is all about Elric of Melnibone, which most of their stuff is about. All their album covers are about that. But yeah, this track is the longest one on the album, and it is easily one of my favorite tracks they've ever done. So goddamn good. It's not to say that's the only good song on the album. The whole album is awesome from start to finish, but that one is really a standout. All in all, if this is their last album, what a way to go out. Glorious album in 17th place. All right, let's switch it up completely once again. In 16th place, I'm going with Kalmah and their self-titled album, Kalmah. If you have not heard this band before, they're from Finland and play melodic death metal, but with like a healthy dose of power metal in there as well. Obviously, comparisons will be to bands like Children of Bodom or Northern, things in that vein. But honestly, out of bands that kind of have this style, Kalmah is my favorite. They just always deliver. They have not put out a weak album to date. And this one is as strong as ever. The Swamp Lords returned with a glorious album. This whole discography is amazing. And this one is right up there with their best. Like, there's just so much melody here, but it still keeps it aggressive as well. I just love everything about this band. This album is no exception. I'm repeating myself here. Favorite tracks, if I had to pick them. Scarred by Sadness is amazing. Drifting in a Dream. Just really varying their songwriting approach from song to song here. Solid album from start to finish. That's why it's in 16th place. Time for another chug of beer. All right. Now we're getting into the top 15. It's getting juicier. You trying to guess what's coming? Let's find out right now. 15th place. Let's go with some power metal. Twilight Force, At the Heart of Winter Veil. Swedish band, epic power metal. Very much akin to Rhapsody of Fire. I feel like this is like the spiritual successor to that band. They are clearly very influenced by them. This is just fantastical tales. Yes, it's over the top with epic guitars and keys and orchestrations. It tells a story over the course of every album, much like Rhapsody does. So the comparisons are inevitable, but there's enough uniqueness here that they're doing their own thing. It has amazing, soaring, operatic vocals, which suit this style of music perfectly. The guitar rips here, and this is just glorious power metal, and it's so much fun. It's so catchy. I can't listen to this and not smile. Like, it is just fun power metal, and that's what it's all about within the genre. And yeah, absolutely great album. Obviously, I'm putting it in my top 15. I think pretty highly of it. favorite tracks here, the title track, At the Heart of Wintervale, Sky Knights of Aldaria. All in all, amazing power metal album. One of the best power metal albums of the year. Maybe not the best. Hint, hint. There might be one more coming in my top 10. But yeah, one of the best power metal albums of the year, easily in 15th place. Up next in 14th, going with Dymna Lotva and their album, The Land Under the Black Wings Blood. So this is a band from Belarus. Another one that's very hard to describe. I see them get labeled as like post-metal, mixed with black metal, mixed with doom. Sure, that fits, that suits it. It's kind of all over the place. They really have an interesting and unique sound. Their vocalist, her vocals are insane. She does like black metal rasps, but they are so anguished and tortured. But then she does clean vocals as well. And this is probably the most like emotional, gut-wrenching album that I have heard this year, which is saying a lot. There's been a lot of albums throughout my list where I'm saying this is a super emotional album, but this one probably takes the cake. It's just really heart-wrenching, and almost you feel the anguish in her vocals, and it is just so well done. Really powerful stuff in a good way. Absolutely goddamn amazing album. Favorite tracks here, Come and See, Buried Alive, but listen to this whole album. Awesome stuff. I feel like this one's not getting enough love out there. Go give it some love. Give it a listen. Goddamn amazing stuff. All right, up next in 13th, let's go with some more Canadian content with Miserere Luminis and the new album Ordalie. So this is some atmospheric black metal from Quebec, some Quebecois style black metal. This features members from Gris and Sombre Foray, which I love both of those projects. And originally they had done this collaboration a number of years ago and put out their debut album, which was absolutely phenomenal. I thought that was just a one and done album. I was shocked that we were getting a sophomore album this year, and it lived up to the hype for me personally. This was one of my most anticipated albums of the year, and it really knocked it out of the park. One of the best Canadian albums of the year for sure. The vocals here are so tortured and depressive. I mean, if you've heard Gris, you know what you're in store for. And this is just pure French-Canadian black metal glory. Like, we have so many good black metal bands from Quebec up here in Canada, and this just sounds like one of the best albums from that genre. I'm running out of words. Go listen to this album. If you're into black metal at all, you will not be disappointed. Amazing stuff. So speaking of my favorite Canadian albums of the year, I said that was one of my favorites. I think this next one might be my favorite Canadian album of the year and my favorite death metal album of the year. In 12th place, I'm going with Tomb Mold and their new album, The Enduring Spirit. So yeah, this is just amazing death metal from Canada. Like I said, this has seen them go in a much more progressive direction than their previous albums. I almost feel like they're following like the death career trajectory, like started out more and just straight ahead classic old school death metal, and as each album goes on they add a little bit more progressiveness each time. I mean, I'm very curious to see if they keep doing that going forward, but the riffs and songwriting here are just really top notch. This, like, how they compose these songs, it's just amazing. My one knock on it, I guess, if I had to nitpick, the vocals maybe are a little bit one-dimensional. I would like a little bit more variation in there, but nonetheless, it doesn't really hold it back. There's so much experimentation going on with these songwriting. Like, go listen to the song Will of Whispers, and that's insane. I would have never expected a song like that listening to early Tomb Mold, but it works. And then the closing track here, The Enduring Spirit of Calamity, goddamn amazing, lengthy song. Like I said, this is probably my favorite death metal album of the year, and probably my favorite Canadian album of the year, in 12th place. All right, one more to go before we're into the top 10. In 11th place, Wayfarer with American Gothic. So this is some atmospheric black metal mixed with folk, very much Western themed. This band is from Colorado, and their songs are just tales of the Old West, which you wouldn't necessarily think goes with black metal, but they really make it work. They've incorporated these Western atmospheres and influence into the black metal to make a sound that is very unique to them. This features some dudes in Stormkeep, which I'm a huge fan of that band, and over the course of their last few albums here with Wayfarer, they've really been building towards an album like this, and I feel like this is the pinnacle of their career, at least to date. Not a knock on their previous albums. I really enjoyed those as well, but this is just possibly their best one. They've climaxed on this album after the last couple, and it's just unique and outstanding. The atmosphere here, like, you will feel like you're in the old Western times. And amazing stuff. I'm gushing over all these albums, but that's what this video is for. I want to gush about all these goddamn albums because they're amazing. Favorite tracks here: To Enter My House, Justified, False Constellation. All in all, it didn't quite make my top 10, but it easily could be. Ranking these is very tough. I almost feel regretful and pained that this is in 11th and not in 10th, but something had to be in 11th. Top 10's coming up. Wayfarer has an awesome album. That's why it's this high on my list. All right, before we get into the top 10, I need to quench my thirst once more. All right. Top 10 time. The best of the best. Wow. This is so tough at getting up to the top 10 here. The first 40 albums I just talked about, man, those were that good. What could possibly be better? Ranking these next 10 was a fucking headache because I love each and every one of these albums, and day to day this order could change, but doing my best here. This is what I'm going with for today. You ask me in another week, this order could change, but for today, these are my 10 favorite albums from 2023. Let's go. In 10th place, I am going with Saturnus and the new album, The Storm Within. So this band is from Denmark, plays doom metal with a healthy dose of death metal. I would not call this death doom. This is more on the doom side, but with some death metal vocals as well. And this is another very emotional album. It's just musically crushing and emotionally crushing, but it's gorgeous and so melodic at the same time. Like, the guitar work here is amazing, and it's just got this soundscape full of sorrow. The vocals on the death metal side are really heavy and crushing, and he enunciates words very strangely, but it suits it so well. Does some spoken word, almost like reading of poems is what it sounds like throughout. But overall, like, all the way through, this is just an amazing album. Obviously, I'm going to be saying that about every album I'm talking about. It's amazing. Well, I'm putting it in my top 10. Of course, it's goddamn amazing. But yeah, favorite tracks here: The Storm Within, The Calling. But even picking favorite tracks is hard. Awesome album in 10th place. Up next in 9th, I'm going with Helms Deep and their debut album, Treacherous Ways. So this is some traditional heavy metal, US power metal, whatever you want to call it. This is very much inspired by bands like Attacker and Rite and Sabotage, things in that vein from the 80s. This sounds like it could have been plucked from the early 80s. It's just got that vibe and atmosphere and spirit to it. And when I say that, it even brings in like some old school Megadeth influence, at least to my ears, a little bit as well, sometimes with the vocals and the guitar work. I did a full review of this album not that long ago, so you can go check that out for full details. But man, the vocals on this album are over the top and amazing. I sing along to this like at the top of my lungs, and it makes me smile. This has riffs for days, so many goddamn riffs, and this is just so much fun. I cannot listen to this and not just have a good time. Like, it's goddamn amazing. Just makes me want to crush a beer, go headbang, and sing along to this. It's so high energy, and it's just so replayable. This album is a crazy good time. Favorite tracks: the title track, Treacherous Ways, Sorcery! Just fucking awesome album. Go listen to Helms Deep if you have not. All right, moving this along. Up next in 8th, I'm going with Enterre Vivant and their album Shigenso. So this is a black metal band, atmospheric black metal with folky influence as well. It's a collaboration. So the project is from France and Japan. It sounds like French black metal, but then it brings in like Japanese culture and Japanese folk instrumentation, and just really makes this unique album that just sucks you in. Like, this is very sorrowful black metal, but there's still so much melody and different instrumentation going on that it's not just a sorrowful black metal album. There's uplifting moments, and it just takes you different directions. It's very unique. The vocals are different. Each song is like about a different element, like fire or water or wind, and it really stands out, this album, because they're doing something unique. And that's what really always gets me, are these unique albums. Don't just do the same thing that someone else has done. They're really doing their own type of songwriting approach here, and the unique vocals and just unique approach to having like French black metal, but then with these Japanese influences. It's just really made one of the best albums of the year easily. This is released on Antique Records, which is one of my favorite labels as well. I just have nothing but positive things to say about this album. Goddamn amazing. Another one that I feel like needs more love. Not enough people are talking about this. So hopefully this helps you discover it. Go listen to it. Amazing album. Up next in 7th, I'm going with Isole and their album Anesidora. This is some epic doom metal from Sweden. This is probably my favorite doom album of the year. This features the guys from Arab Altor. This is more their doom side of things. Well, I mean, Arab Altor has done some doom stuff as well, but then they've gone into more of a black metal direction, kind of mix of genres over their last few. But yeah, here, Isole, this is just pure epic doom. Does bring in some harsh vocals here and there, but this is more about like the soaring, gloomy vocals and the just gloomy atmosphere. This is another one that is very emotional. It's just an emotional slab of epicness, but the songs, while they're so powerful and sorrowful, they are still catchy. And that's what really makes a good doom album here. The song In Abundance, easily my favorite track on the album. Amazing, superb stuff there. The Songs of the Whales is great as well. All in all, amazing album in 7th place. All right, up next in 6th, I'm going with Sunat Fur and their album Nous sommes d'hier. This is some French melodic black metal. This is another one-man band, mostly known for how insanely good his drumming is. This would be for fans of bands like Darkenhold or Vehemence, anything in that vein, the like medieval style, frantic, melodic black metal. This is so aggressive melodic riffing throughout, and the riffs and musicianship here are just on full display. There's so much melody, even though it's aggressive and in your face, and the harsh vocals are really amazing as well, but even brings in some clean vocals and like chants in some spots, and it really just gives it this different vibe. All in all, absolutely amazing album. Goddamn love it. That's why it's in 6th place. All right, time for another sip here. All right, into the top 5 now. This is where it got really tough for me. I just didn't know how to rank these, but I'm going to give it a try. I'm trying to decide if I should do any last minute adjustments. Probably not. Let's just go with this. 5th place, Afsky, with the new album hundrede. Another one-man band, this time from Denmark, more black metal. Big surprise, my list is usually tons of black metal. But this is another very like harrowing experience, very emotional, but it's also really aggressive. Excuse me, really aggressive at the same time. It's got these beautiful moments with acoustics and just the melodies interwoven in between, but then these really aggressive black metal vocals that take it to another level. For a long time, I thought this was going to be my album of the year. Maybe over the course of the year, a few other albums have overtaken it, but this is still right there. Any given day, this could be my favorite of the year. Favorite tracks here, Stormfold, Hav, Tak for Alt, but front to back, amazing album. That's why it's in 5th place. All right, up next in 4th, I'm going with Moonlight Sorcery and their debut full-length Horned Lord of the Thorned Castle. This is a band from Finland. I say it's their debut, but they have put out a few EPs prior to this, so it's not a brand new band, but nonetheless, it's their first full length. This is like symphonic black metal mixed with a huge power metal influence, and this is just amazing stuff. It brings in these like neoclassical guitar solos, which you don't really get in black metal too often, but they're doing their own thing here, almost creating their own style here with these ripping solos throughout. And the songwriting here is just amazing. Like, this is black metal that is fun. You don't hear that too often. Like, this shreds, but it's still got the aggressive black metal vocals, and it's just expertly done. Like, the production is very clean, which maybe is not for everyone on the black metal spectrum, but it suits their style of music. Maybe I like the production on the EPs a little bit more, but it's not too much of a knock here. It still really suits it. Amazing album. Favorite tracks here, The Secret of Streaming Blood, Fire Burns the Horizon, but all in all, amazing album. That's why it's in 4th place. All right, up next in 3rd, possibly my favorite black metal album of the year, Valdren, with their album Throne of the Lunar Soul. So this is some melodic black metal from Cincinnati, of all places, but when I say that, this is hugely influenced by like the mid to late 90s Swedish melodic black metal scene with bands like Dissection, Sacramentum, Vinterland, Dawn, anything in that era. That's clearly what they're inspired by, but then they're also bringing in symphonics and keys to really build the atmosphere and make it much more epic. Like, this is a concept story, concept album, and it's really well done and is so epic. Like, the riffs and melodies here are insanely good. The harsh vocals really shine, but then it also brings in some clean chanting in moments as well. It sprinkles it in. Just really awesome, tells the story from start to finish, and this is just an amazing album. This came out late in the year, and it has just slowly climbed up my list. I almost put this number 1, actually, but I have a couple albums maybe that I'm still returning, like feeling like I should put them higher than this anyways. Maybe in time this will overtake them. I've had to pick favorite tracks here. Holy Matricide, Seven Swords, Golden Walls of Asadjur. All in all, amazing album. That's why it's in 3rd place. One more sip before we get to the top 2 here. All right, 2 more albums to go. This was really, really hard. Kept kind of flipping these back and forth. I knew these were going to both be right near the top, but which order? Let's just do it. Let's go. 2nd place, my favorite power metal album of the year, Sacred Outcry with Towers of Gold. So this is some Greek heavy / power metal. Features, when I say they're from Greece, they do feature a vocalist from Sweden, Daniel Hyman, who of course is the legendary vocalist from Lost Horizon. They had only put out a couple albums, then disbanded. He's done some different projects here and there, but this band maybe fits his voice better than any other project that he's been in, at least in my opinion. He's one of the best vocalists out there, and he really just elevated this material to a whole other level. This is another concept album that tells a story from start to finish. When this album first came out, I absolutely loved it, but honestly, when I got the CD and was able to follow along with the story, reading all the background and then following the lyrics along with the story, it elevated this to a whole other level. Like, I would strongly recommend actually buying this album so you can follow the story, tell what's going on with these lyrics. It just adds another dimension to it. They put so much effort into the story, and it just really made this an amazing album. The musicianship here is top notch, and like I said, the vocals here, he hits so many different ranges here. Just amazing. This is epic, but it's like melancholic power metal at the same time, which you don't often get. This isn't just happy-go-lucky power metal. This has emotion, and it's going to take you on a journey, and this is probably one of the best power metal albums I have heard in a number of years. This is going to go down as one of the best power metal albums ever, probably, in the long run. If I had to pick favorite tracks here, the title track, it's a 15-minute epic, absolutely amazing. The Flame Rekindled is great, and honestly, even the closing kind of outro where Crimson Shadows dwell is just beautiful. Absolutely love this album. That's why it's in 2nd place. All right, we've got one more to go. What is my favorite album of the year? I'm going to give you a minute to try to guess while I take another sip of beer. All right, without further ado, let's get into my number 1 pick for the year, Century, with their album, The Conquest of Time. This might be a surprise to many people because you're probably expecting me to pick a black metal album. Well, this year, it was not a black metal album that took the throne for my favorite of the year. It was Century with their debut full-length album. This is some traditional heavy metal from Sweden that really just has that old school Swedish heavy metal vibe and sound. This is hugely inspired by early Swedish heavy metal bands like Gotham City and Heavy Load. But honestly, I think Century out Heavy Load this year, if that makes sense. Heavy Load put out a new album. I think this one is better. This is more the style of this type of metal that I absolutely love. This album is full of some of the best guitar riffs that I've heard all year, and this is just so catchy and so replayable. I have listened to the shit out of this album, probably more than any other album this year, and I'm not sick of it at all. I sing along to every note of this album, and sometimes the vocalist, like, it's more in like a mid-range that really suits the music, but then every now and then he goes high-pitched, and it just puts a smile on my face. I sing along to it. It's amazing. I love the riffs. I love the melodies. I love the song construction. It's just catchy. Everything I love about traditional heavy metal is in this album. Really well done stuff. That's why I am picking this for my album of the year. If I had to pick favorite tracks here, the title track, The Conquest of Time, Sinister Star, Servants of the Iron Mask, but really there's no weak moments here. Front to back, amazing album, and that's why it's my number 1. Let me know if you're surprised by that, but I was not. This came out early in the year, and it's been right in the mix since then. Absolutely love it. So anyways, those were my picks. Let me know what you thought of them, and definitely give me your picks down below. Always curious to know what your favorites of the year were. You don't necessarily have to give me 50. Give me your top 10. Give me your top 20. Whatever you feel like. I'm going to read the comments anyway. Always curious to get your picks, and especially to maybe discover some new stuff that I didn't listen to. So, I've been going long enough here. This is a very long video. Hopefully you stayed tuned till the end to see what my top picks were. But until next time, cheers to you all. Hammerheart Metal Reviews. Out.